The silver observation pod hung silently above the African plains, its cloaking field bending light around its smooth surface. Inside, Tom adjusted his sensors for the 5th time that day. His real name was impossible for any Earth creature to pronounce, so he had chosen Tom from the planet's future language database, a simple name for what should have been a simple mission. Movement detected in Sector 7. The ship's computer announced. Group of bipedal primates, approximately 12 individuals. Tom leaned forward, his 4 eyes focusing on different monitoring screens. After 50 years of watching this planet's evolution, he had seen countless species come and go. These new bipedals, however, had caught the attention of the Galactic Council's Evolution Watch Department. "Record everything," he commanded. "Standard observation protocol." The humans below, though they weren't called that yet, moved with surprising purpose. They carried crude tools made of stone and wood, communicating through a mix of sounds and gestures that seemed more complex than necessary for mere survival. Tom's senior researcher, who had chosen the name Mike, floated into the observation chamber. Like all observers, his crystalline body structure allowed him to move without the need for traditional locomotion. "Another hunting party?" Mike asked, his voice translator making the words sound almost musical. "Yes, but watch this." Tom highlighted a section of the holographic display. A younger human was showing an older one how to sharpen a stone tool. They're teaching each other, not just copying, but actively improving their techniques. Mike's color shifted to a deeper blue, a sign of surprise among their species. Most creatures take thousands of generations to develop new tools. These ones are doing it within a single lifetime. The humans below had stopped moving. The leader of the group was drawing something in the dirt with a stick. The others gathered around, pointing and making those complex vocalizations again. "They're planning," Tom said, unable to hide the excitement in his voice. "Look at the marks. It's a crude map of the valley." "Impossible," Mike responded. "Their brains aren't developed enough for abstract representation." But the evidence was right there on their screens. The humans were using the map to coordinate their hunting strategy. Within hours, they had successfully trapped and killed a large antelope, using far less energy than a direct chase would have required. That evening, as the African sun set, Tom prepared his daily report for the Galactic Council. His fingers hovered over the input panel as he chose his words carefully. Day 18,250 of Earth observation. Species designation: Early Homo sapiens continues to defy standard evolutionary models. Today's observations confirm previous reports of abstract thinking capabilities. Subjects demonstrated ability to create and understand symbolic representations, teach complex skills to others, plan and execute coordinated group actions, improve upon existing tool designs. Recommendation: upgrade observation status from Category 3, Basic Evolution Watch, to Category 2, Species of Interest. Tom paused before adding one final note. Personal observation. In my 40,000 years of evolutionary study across 2,000 planets, I have never seen a species with this combination of traits at such an early stage. These creatures appear to be operating on a completely different evolutionary timeline than any previously documented species. Request permission to establish permanent observation posts across the planet's habitable regions. As he sent the report, Tom watched the humans below. They had gathered around a fire, another trait unique to their species, and were sharing the meat from their hunt. But it was what happened next that truly caught his attention. One of them began to draw on the cave wall with a piece of charcoal from the fire. The others watched, making appreciative sounds as the rough shape of the antelope they had hunted emerged on the stone surface. "Art," Tom whispered. "They're creating art." He immediately sent an urgent addendum to his report. Emergency update. Subjects have displayed unprecedented behavior. Creation of non-functional representative imagery. This suggests awareness beyond immediate survival needs and possibly the beginning of cultural development. Strongly recommend immediate upgrade to Category 1. Critical observation required. That night, as the humans slept below, Tom remained at his post, watching. Something told him that these creatures, these humans, were going to change everything the observers thought they knew about evolution, intelligence, and the development of civilizations. He had no idea just how right he was. 10,000 years had passed since Tom's first report about the cave paintings. He now stood in his favorite observation post, disguised as a large oak tree on a hillside in what would later be called the Fertile Crescent. Below him, humans were doing something that had never been seen before on any other world. "They're planting the seeds in rows," Mike said, his crystalline form reflecting the morning sun. "Not just dropping them randomly anymore." Tom adjusted his sensors to record every detail. This is the fourth separate location where they've independently developed farming. It shouldn't be possible. The humans below worked steadily, using sharpened sticks to make holes in the ground. Children followed behind, carefully placing seeds in each hole. The level of organization was unprecedented for a species that had been nomadic hunters just a few centuries ago. "Central Command is demanding answers," Mike said, his color shifting to an anxious yellow. "How are they learning these techniques in multiple places with no contact between groups?" Tom had been asking himself the same question. The development of agriculture had followed eerily similar patterns in different parts of the world. The humans in this region were growing wheat, while others halfway across the planet were cultivating rice, and still others were domesticating corn. Each group had figured it out independently. A message flashed across Tom's visual interface. Another emergency meeting of the Galactic Council had been called. "They're discussing intervention," Mike said quietly. "Some members believe the humans are being helped by another spacefaring race." Tom shook his head, sending ripples through his crystalline structure. "We've been watching them for 70,000 years. There's been no contact. This is all of them." Below, a group of humans was building something new, a permanent structure made of mud bricks. Around it, smaller buildings were taking shape. It was happening again. The transition from nomadic groups to settled communities. Tom activated his communication link to the council meeting. "Distinguished members, I must again oppose any intervention. Yes, the humans are developing faster than any species we've ever observed. Yes, they're showing signs of collective intelligence that we can't explain. But that's exactly why we need to continue watching." The council leader's response was immediate. "Observer Tom, you've been monitoring these creatures for an unusually long time. Are you certain your judgment hasn't been compromised?" Tom looked down at the human settlement. They had already established complex social structures, with different people handling specialized tasks. Some were farming, others building, and still others appeared to be developing new tools. "My judgment is clear," Tom replied. "I believe we're witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. These humans, they don't just adapt to their environment. They adapt their environment to themselves." As if to prove his point, he watched as a group of humans diverted a small stream toward their fields, creating the galaxy's first known irrigation system. "Impossible," several council members exclaimed at once as they received the live feed. That level of environmental manipulation shouldn't appear for at least another 5,000 years. But the humans weren't waiting for evolutionary timetables. By the end of that day, they had created a basic but effective irrigation channel. Within a week, they had improved its design twice. Tom added to his daily report. "The rate of human advancement continues to defy all known models of species development. They are now showing signs of organized agriculture in multiple locations, permanent settlement construction, basic engineering and water management, complex social organization, knowledge transfer between generations. Most remarkably, they appear to be teaching these skills to their young through some form of structured education, a concept we believed couldn't evolve for at least another 10,000 years." As the sun set, Tom watched the humans gather in their new settlement. They were sharing food, telling stories, and, most incredibly, drawing plans in the dirt for tomorrow's projects. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were building for the future. Perhaps, Tom thought, we need to stop asking how they're advancing so quickly and start asking why we assumed it had to be slow in the first place. The lights from the human settlement below twinkled like stars, a sight that would soon be repeated across the entire planet. The age of human civilization had begun, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. Tom's observation pod hovered high above the Great Pyramids of Egypt, disguised as a passing cloud. In the 5,000 years since humans had started farming, they had done something remarkable again. They had built monuments that could be seen from space. How did they move those stone blocks? Mike asked, his crystalline form flickering with confusion. Their muscle power alone shouldn't be enough. Tom zoomed in his view screen, watching thousands of humans working together with ropes, ramps, and pulleys. They're using their minds to overcome their physical limitations. Look at their tools. Below them, human civilization was blooming like flowers after rain. In Egypt, great pyramids reached for the sky. In Mesopotamia, massive cities housed thousands of people. In the Indus Valley, complex drainage systems kept cities clean. And in China, walls longer than anyone thought possible were taking shape. Central Command is getting nervous, Mike said, bringing up a holographic report. 4 major civilizations developing at once, each with different writing systems, different technologies, different ways of building. It's not natural. Tom had seen countless species develop across the galaxy. Usually, good ideas spread from one place to another. But humans were different. They kept inventing the same things in different ways, in different places, without copying each other. Look at this, Tom said, switching the view to Rome. They're building roads. Other species build roads, Mike replied. Not like this. These roads aren't just paths. They're engineered, layered, built to last thousands of years. Tom paused. And look where they lead. The roads stretched out like a web across Europe, connecting cities, crossing mountains, bridging rivers. Humans weren't just building. They were connecting. A priority alert flashed across their screens. The Roman army was on the move again. Tom and Mike watched as thousands of soldiers marched in perfect formation, their armor glinting in the sun. This is what worries the council, Mike said. They're too good at warfare. But Tom saw something different. They're good at everything. Mike, look at their arts, their music, their poetry. For every weapon they create, they also create something beautiful. They shifted their view to China, where the Great Wall stretched across mountains like a stone dragon. Then to South America, where different human civilizations had built pyramids without ever knowing Egypt existed. Tom began his daily report. Year 5000 of civilization observation. Humans continue to exceed all predicted development patterns. They have now built structures visible from orbit, developed multiple forms of writing, created complex mathematical systems, established vast trading networks, mastered metallurgy far ahead of schedule. Most notably, they show a pattern unknown in any other species. They build empires, let them fall, and then build bigger ones from the ruins. As if proving his point, they watched as Roman ships crossed the Mediterranean, Greek philosophers taught in marble halls, Chinese inventors created paper and compasses, and Indian mathematicians invented the concept of zero. Sir, Mike interrupted, you need to see this. The view switched to a small room in Baghdad's House of Wisdom. A group of humans was doing something extraordinary. They were collecting knowledge from all over their world, translating it, sharing it, building upon it. They're learning from their own past, Tom said, his voice filled with wonder. When one empire falls, they don't lose the knowledge. They build on it. Every failure makes them stronger. The Galactic Council's response was immediate and worried. This pattern suggests they will eventually reach space. Their development must be slowed. Tom sent back a firm reply. Respectfully, Council, I disagree. These humans don't just build empires. They learn from them. Each time one falls, they ask why and build something better. It's not a flaw in their development, it's their greatest strength. As night fell over Earth, Tom watched lights twinkle in cities across the planet. Empires would rise and fall, but human knowledge kept growing. In their failures, they found strength. In their defeats, they found wisdom. Perhaps, Tom thought, that's why they're different. They're not afraid to fail. They expect it, plan for it, learn from it. And that makes them more dangerous and more remarkable than any species we've ever seen. The stars shone down on a world of empires, each rising, falling, and rising again, each step taking humanity closer to its unknown destiny among those same stars. Tom stood in his observation pod above London, his crystalline form vibrating with concern as black smoke rose from countless chimneys below. In just 300 years, humans had changed more than they had in the previous 50,000. This wasn't in any of our predictions, Mike said, analyzing the data streams. They've discovered steam power centuries ahead of schedule. Below them, a new world was being born in fire and steel. Massive machines pounded in factories, trains roared across the landscape on iron rails, and ships powered by steam engines crossed oceans faster than wind had ever carried them. Central Command is in chaos, Tom reported, his color shifting to a worry purple. No species has ever industrialized this quickly. The models can't keep up. They watched as a new factory opened, its machines spinning cotton into thread faster than 1,000 human hands could work. In just one human lifetime, cities had grown from thousands to millions of people. "Sir," one of the junior observers called out, his form flickering with panic. "We have a situation in Manchester." Tom shifted his view to the new location. A human had almost spotted one of their observation posts disguised as a factory chimney. The humans were building structures so tall they were getting too close to the observers' hidden stations. "Relocate all low-altitude observation posts," Tom commanded. "Move them higher. We can't risk detection." "Not now." A priority message flashed from the Galactic Council. "Species development alert. Humans have begun large-scale modification of planetary environment. Intervention recommended." Tom looked down at London again. The Thames River ran dark with industrial waste. The sky was gray with coal smoke, and forests were being cleared at an alarming rate. But something else was happening too. "Look," he said to Mike, pointing to a university building. "They're already studying the problems they're creating. Watch." Inside the building, human scientists were discussing air pollution, water contamination, and ways to make machines more efficient. They weren't just blindly advancing. They were trying to understand the consequences of their actions. Tom wrote his urgent report. Year 300 of industrial observation. Human development has exceeded all known models. They have mastered steam power, created mass production systems, built global transportation networks, begun widespread use of fossil fuels, started questioning their own impact on their planet. Most critically, they are now advancing fast enough to notice unexplained phenomena, including our observation posts. As if to prove his point, a human newspaper below carried a story about strange lights in the sky. Some humans were beginning to ask questions about things they shouldn't be able to see. "We have to pull back further," Mike suggested. "Reduce our observation points." But Tom was watching something else now. A human child reading a book about stars and planets. The young one's eyes were filled with wonder and questions. "No," Tom said firmly. "We need to watch more carefully than ever. They're about to make another leap." The Galactic Council's response was immediate. "Explain your reasoning." Tom transmitted images of human inventions, the microscope revealing tiny worlds, the telescope showing distant stars, the steam engine powering massive factories, and early electrical experiments making artificial lightning. "They're not just changing their world now," Tom explained. "They're trying to understand how everything works. The next leap won't just be in their machines. It will be in their knowledge of the universe itself. As night fell over the industrial cities, new electric lights began to shine, pushing back the darkness for the first time in Earth's history. Humans had mastered fire, then steam, and now electricity, each step coming faster than the last. "Look at their eyes," Tom said to Mike as they watched humans leaving a factory. Even tired from work, they're looking up at the stars, always looking up, always asking questions. A small human child pointed at the sky, asking her father about the lights above. For a moment, Tom thought she was pointing directly at his observation pod. "We're running out of time," Mike said quietly. "No," Tom replied, watching the child's wondering face. "They're just getting started. And soon, very soon, they'll be looking for us in earnest." The electric lights below grew brighter, and somewhere in a workshop, a human inventor was already dreaming up the next machine that would change their world, and perhaps the galaxy, forever. Tom's observation chamber now orbited Earth, disguised as a communications satellite. The year was 1985, and he watched in amazement as humans filled their world with invisible networks of information. "They've done it again," he reported to Mike, who was monitoring from their lunar base. "They've created computers smaller than their own hands." Below them, in countless offices and homes, humans were connecting machines together in ways that even the Galactic Council hadn't predicted. Personal computers, barely toys by alien standards, were appearing everywhere. "Sir," a junior observer called out, his crystalline form flashing red with alarm. "Our signals are being detected by their new systems." Tom quickly reviewed the data. Human computers were becoming so sensitive that they were picking up traces of the observer's quantum communications. Even their best cloaking technology was struggling to stay hidden. "They've mapped 80% of their planet's surface," Mike reported through the secure channel. "Our ground stations are running out of places to hide." Tom watched as satellites, human satellites, passed by his observation post. They carried cameras, sensors, and communications equipment. Each year, they grew more sophisticated, more capable of detecting anomalies. A priority alert flashed across his visual interface. "Warning! Human internet expansion exceeding containment protocols. Quantum computing research detected in multiple locations. AI development accelerating beyond predicted timelines." Tom switched his view to Silicon Valley, where humans were creating things that should have been impossible for their level of development. In one building, they were working on artificial intelligence. In another, quantum computers. In a third, virtual reality systems that approached observer technology. "The Council is demanding immediate action," Mike transmitted. "They say humans are approaching breakthrough points in multiple restricted technologies." Below them, a young human programmer was writing code that would help create the World Wide Web. In another part of the world, scientists were sharing research instantly across continents. And in secret government facilities, supercomputers were processing data at speeds that made the observers nervous. Tom began his emergency report. Digital Age Observation Update. Human technological advancement has become exponential. They have created global information networks, developed advanced computing systems, begun serious quantum research, started practical AI development, launched sophisticated space observation programs. Critical concern: their technology is now advanced enough to potentially detect our presence. The Council's response was immediate and severe. Recommend immediate cessation of all near-Earth observation. Risk of detection now classified as critical. But Tom was watching something that worried him even more. In a small research lab, humans were discussing theories about extra-dimensional space. Theories that came dangerously close to explaining how observer technology actually worked. "Look at this," he transmitted to Mike, sharing the feed. "They're not just advancing their technology. They're starting to understand principles they shouldn't even know exist." A human child walked into the lab, watching her scientist mother work. The girl pointed at a complex equation on a whiteboard and asked a question that made Tom's crystalline form vibrate with shock. "Mom, what if there are aliens watching us right now?" The scientist laughed, but then looked thoughtful. You know, she said, with all these new telescopes and sensors we're building, we might actually be able to find out soon. Tom sent an urgent update to his report. Most critical development. Humans are now actively seeking signs of extraterrestrial observation. Their search methods are becoming sophisticated enough to pose a real threat of detection. But more importantly, they're asking the right questions. As night fell over Earth, the planet glowed with artificial light and hummed with digital signals. Billions of humans were connected through their machines, sharing ideas, dreaming up new technologies, and looking ever more carefully at the sky above them. We can't hide much longer, Mike transmitted from the moon. Tom watched as more satellites launched, more computers connected, and more humans turned their gaze to the stars. Perhaps, he replied, we were never really hidden at all. Perhaps they always knew we were here, and they've been getting ready to meet us on their own terms. In a bedroom below, a child checked their telescope's digital camera, hoping to catch something unusual in the night sky. Unknown to them, they had just photographed Tom's observation post, hidden in plain sight among the stars. Tom stared at his emergency display in disbelief. The year was 2024, and a human space telescope had just captured clear images of the observer's base on Mars. Deleted from their systems, Mike urged, his crystalline form pulsing with anxiety. We still have access to their networks. No, Tom replied, watching as the images spread across human news networks. This time is different. Look how they're reacting. Below on Earth, humans weren't panicking. Instead, scientists were calmly analyzing the images, engineers were planning missions to investigate, and military leaders were discussing peaceful contact protocols. They had been preparing for this moment. Sir, the junior observer's voice crackled through their quantum link. Humans have launched 3 new spacecraft toward Mars. Their trajectory will bring them directly to our main research base. The Galactic Council's emergency session opened on Tom's visual feed. Their voices merged into a chorus of alarm. Initiate immediate evacuation. Destroy all evidence. Protocol 7 is now in effect. But Tom didn't move. Instead, he opened a direct link to a small group of human scientists in a research facility below. For the first time in 70,000 years of observation, he spoke to them. We need to talk. He transmitted in perfect English. The scientists' reactions surprised him again. Instead of shock, they showed relief. One of them, Dr. James, smiled and replied, "We've been waiting for you to make contact." Mike's form flickered with shock. "Tom, what have you done? This violates every protocol." But Tom was watching the humans' computer screens. They were displaying data he had never seen before, detailed records of observer activity spanning decades. The humans had been watching their watchers. "How long have you known?" Tom asked Dr. James. "We first confirmed your presence in the 1960s, the scientist replied. "But we suspected much earlier. You're good at hiding, but you underestimated our curiosity." The Galactic Council erupted in chaos. Messages flooded Tom's feed. Impossible. They couldn't have detected us. This changes everything. Tom began recording what would be his final official report. Breaking point analysis. Humans have demonstrated capabilities beyond all predicted models. They have detected our observation posts independently, study our technology without our knowledge, developed countermeasures to our monitoring, prepared peaceful contact protocols, kept this knowledge secret until they were ready. Most critically, they chose when and how first contact would occur. Dr. James was showing Tom their records now. Humans had documented hundreds of observer sites, tracked their movements, and even began understanding their technology. But instead of exposing this knowledge, they had waited, learned, and prepared. "Why didn't you announce your discovery?" Tom asked. Another scientist, Dr. Brown, stepped forward. "We knew you were studying us. We decided to study you back. Seemed fair. The Galactic Council was now in full emergency session. The news was spreading across the galaxy. Humans hadn't just developed faster than expected. They had outmaneuvered their observers. "Sir," Mike transmitted privately, "what do we do now?" Tom looked at the humans below, then at their spacecraft heading to Mars, and finally at their detailed files about observer activities. They had turned the longest observation mission in galactic history into a two-way study. "Now," Tom replied, "we learn from them." He addressed the human scientists again. "Your species has surprised us at every turn. You weren't supposed to advance this quickly. You weren't supposed to detect us. You weren't supposed to be able to understand our technology." Dr. James smiled again. "There are a lot of things we weren't supposed to do. That's kind of our specialty." As night fell over Earth, lights twinkled in cities across the planet. But now, for the first time, some of those lights were clearly signaling to the observers above. "We see you. We're ready. Let's talk." Tom sent his final message to the Galactic Council. "The humans haven't just passed every test we created. They've rewritten the rules of the game. Perhaps it's time we admitted that we're no longer the only teachers in the galaxy." 1 month after first contact, Tom stood in a United Nations conference room in his natural crystalline form, facing representatives from every human nation. The Galactic Council members watched through quantum feeds as humanity prepared to reveal their biggest surprise yet. "Before we begin formal diplomatic relations," the UN Secretary-General said, "we'd like to share something with you." Dr. James stepped forward with a holographic display device, one built with technology the humans shouldn't have had. With a smile, she activated it, showing a complete map of every observer post, hidden base, and cloaked ship in the solar system. "Impossible," Mike whispered from his position beside Tom. "Some of these bases aren't even in our official records." The Secretary-General continued, "We've known about your presence for longer than you think. But that's not the interesting part." She nodded to Dr. James, who changed the display. New images appeared: ancient cave paintings, medieval manuscripts, Renaissance artwork. Each one showed accurate depictions of observer technology and appearance, hidden in plain sight throughout human history. "You see," Dr. Brown explained, "humans have been watching you since the beginning. Those cave paintings you thought were just art. Some were documentation. Those mythological stories. Many were observation records." Tom's crystalline form vibrated with shock. "You mean?" "Yes," Dr. James confirmed. "While you studied our development, we studied yours. Every time you thought you were watching us discover something new, we were actually testing how you would react." The Galactic Council erupted in chaos. Their finest observers had been part of humanity's own observation program for millennia. Dr. Brown brought up another display. "We developed technologies in ways that would seem natural to you, following paths you'd expect. But in secret, we explored other directions." He revealed hidden human facilities where they had developed technologies far beyond what they had shown publicly. "But why?" Tom asked. "Why hide your true capabilities?" The Secretary-General smiled. "Because we learned something important about your civilization. You classify and control species based on their development path. We needed to understand your classification system before we revealed ourselves." Tom suddenly understood. Every surprising leap in human development, every unprecedented advancement, had been carefully orchestrated to learn more about the observer's own limitations and expectations. "You wanted to know how we would react to different types of progress," he said slowly. "You were studying our prejudices and assumptions." "Exactly," Dr. James confirmed. "And we learned that your civilization, despite its advancement, still clings to rigid ideas about how species should develop. You believe there's a right way to progress." The human scientists revealed more: hidden quantum laboratories, consciousness transfer experiments, and technology that even the Galactic Council hadn't mastered, all developed in secret while presenting a carefully crafted image of steady, predictable progress to their watchers. Tom sent his final report to the Galactic Council. "After 70,000 years of observation, we now understand. We were never just the observers. The humans were conducting their own study of galactic civilization through us. They have developed multiple technological paths simultaneously, hidden their true capabilities behind careful misdirection, created a complete model of our civilization's thinking, prepared multiple first contact scenarios, surpassed several of our own technological achievements. Most importantly, they have demonstrated that our entire system of species classification and development may need to be reconsidered. The Secretary General stepped forward. We're ready for open diplomatic relations now, not as a developing species to be studied, but as equals. Perhaps we can learn from each other. As the sun set outside the UN building, Tom looked at the humans around him with new understanding. They had never been just another species to study. They had turned the entire observation program into a mirror, revealing the observer's own limitations and biases. Well, Tom said to the assembled human representatives, it seems that after 70,000 years, we're finally ready to begin our real first contact. Dr. James smiled. Actually, this isn't first contact. This is just the first time you've known about it. Above them, Earth's night sky filled with lights as humans finally revealed their full space presence, while across the galaxy, civilizations began to realize that everything they thought they knew about species development had just been turned upside down by a young race that had been playing a very, very long game.